Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Leafs, Jets, in the big smoke last night. This was a very bizarre game. Much like the game before, where they lost to the Oilers, and they'd get down a couple goals, then they'd come back to bring it within one, and then they'd get down a couple more. It was kind of like that with the Jets, only not to that degree. It was a lot closer and lower scoring, although it wasn't a low-scoring game, but it was lower than the 6-4. It started, the first 4 minutes of the game were really fast-paced, with very little scoring chances. The shots in this game overall were pretty low. But then disaster struck about 4 minutes in, I think it was, or 5 minutes in. A really hard Jets dump in went around into the right corner and around, and Freddie went out to play it, and he just caught an edge as he was backing up, and he fell over beside the net, and a Jet forward was coming down the left side, and from a really sharp angle fired it into the empty net just as Freddie was trying to get back in. It happens all the time. Like, skates are hard, even when you're a professional athlete, you know, especially a goalie with all that gear on, and you're trying to get out of your net to stop a fast dump in. Like, it's hard, right? And you know, you see this thing happen every so often, and most times I don't think anything comes of it, but sometimes the goalies get burned on it, and that's what happened on this one. And it was super lucky too, because like I said, it was such a sharp angle. I didn't think it was going to go in, and I didn't even see it go in, and then after, suddenly the play stopped and the puck was in the net, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what a way to start, right? The bright side was that less than a minute later, Matthews got his 30th goal of the season and tied things back up, which was, you know, good for the team, really good for Freddie to kind of get that monkey off his back and get things back to even with most of the game still left to play. So it was a lot of good work from Marner in the zone, dipsy-doodling around, buying time before he fed a nice little backhand pass to Matthews, who was just coming streaking into the zone. And with that patented little wrist shot, he roofed one. And yeah, then what happened next? It was still a fast-paced game, but again, lots of, not a lot of shots, just a lot of skill, but not a lot of shots. Near the end of the period, the Leafs were on the power play, and there was a malfunction at the blue line. Barry kind of went down on one knee to stop the puck, and it got by him somehow, but Tavares was backing him up, and he had control of the puck, but kind of bobbled it. So then I forget who it was, but one of the Jets came flying through and took it from him, and broke in on Freddie and scored a shorty on him. And the goal was a little bit weak. Freddie didn't have a great first period all around, so it was a bizarre period. Those two goals put the Jets up 2-1. So just like to take back a couple of those plays that led to the kind of cheap goals for the Jets, right? But it is what it is. That's hockey for you. You can't let up for 1 sec, or every little mistake can cost you. So second period, there was only, I think, 2 goals scored. Timashov got his 4th of the year, I think it was. He was serving a penalty and then got out of the box and picked up his 4th of the year, and Brooks got an assist, so he was back in the lineup as one of the newer Leafs, and he continues to pick up the odd point here and there. Later on in the period, Scheifele scored about 5 minutes after that, so Winnipeg went up by 1 again, and that's the way it would stay as we entered the third period at 3-2, and it took the Leafs all period to get a goal, but they finally got one when they pulled Freddie with a couple minutes left, and there was a couple really good chances for the Jets to ice it with an empty net goal, but Marner, especially when he comes out as one of the extra attackers, when they pull the goalie late in the game to try and even things up. I've seen this a number of times this year. He's got an extra spring in his step, and if something goes wrong, he's always the first guy back, and he plays goal. It's hilarious, and he's always so good at it. So he saved a couple of goals by just, you know, creating pressure on the shooter to miss, and playing goaltender with the net empty when they do get bottled up in their zone for a couple seconds. So he saved a couple goals there, and then the Leafs turned it back eventually, and with about 13 seconds left, the Leafs set up after a face-off, and eventually it went over to Matthews on the kind of the right point, and he just wired a high slap shot past Hellebuck, like right over his shoulder. Perfect shot, and that took things 3-3, going to overtime. And with the talent on the Leafs, of course, and of course the Jets with line A and stuff, 3-on-3 hockey's pretty fantastic. And this overtime period was unbelievable. It was back and forth, back and forth. A 2-on-0 Freddie had to stop. A little scramble in front with a tip, and he somehow stopped that. And then another one, a 2-on-1 or something. Like he made up for his lousy first period in that overtime. Even though if he hadn't had the lousy first period, they wouldn't have needed the overtime. But that's neither here or there. That overtime period was just unbelievable. Both teams had great chances, but Freddie especially was like dynamite, and nothing could be solved. So away to the shootout they went. Each team scored twice in the first 3 shooters, and so it went to single shooters after that, and it didn't last long after that because Nylander missed, and then Wheeler scored to end it. Winnipeg wins 4-3 in the shootout. So it was one of those games where, you know, that bad first period had them playing from behind most of the game, and you just hoped that they were able to just scrape out a point, at least get to overtime, bag a point, and if you can pull it, the win, great. But and just try and salvage something out of it, right? Because it just didn't seem to be going their way. So they were able to do that, and you know, they had many chances to win. The overtime period, like I said, both teams had great chances. The shootout was lots of goals happening there, so it just didn't go in their favor last night. So but that's another game with more points dragged out of it. So we'll continue to bank them and continue to climb in the standings, and it's getting to be a logjam in their division now too, because they're now tied with Tampa, and both the Leafs and Tampa are not that far behind Boston now. So it's going to be a real track meet for the rest of the year to see who grabs that division title and how the seeding goes. So great to see Montreal playing like they should, because they're not great. So I love it when they don't make the playoffs. It's like the Leafs make the playoffs is one thing, but the Leafs make the playoffs and Montreal not make the playoffs, that's like the icing on the cake. So so hopefully that happens. The Leafs make it, Montreal doesn't, and hopefully they can do some damage when that time comes. But we'll see what happens. They got lots more work to do, especially on the defensive side of things, but this is a different looking team than the start of the year, and they're pretty dangerous, and it looks like they're having a shitload of fun. So bring it on.